Hello and welcome to another FBR video where in this video I'm going to be doing a differential draft. We've all seen the same players from everybody, pretty much in everybody's draft. So Trent, Saka, Salah, I mean maybe not as much Salah believe it or not, but Haaland for sure. We get it, they're all great players. But there is other players out there who we're not looking at, who play probably for the same team, who obviously barely owned right now, who probably have similar amount of points from the other player from last season. So there is other players out there you should probably keep an eye out on, probably want to bring your team to be a bit different. So that's what I've gone with this team here. There is actually a few players in this team who I'm seriously considering putting into my team because they look great and I think they'll do great things this season. Now let's go through the team. So obviously in goal you can already see I've got Jose Sarr of Wolves. Now he is actually 5 million, which is a little expensive from what I'd usually go for my starting goalkeeper. Usually I look at 4.5 million, especially with a team struggling anyway. So obviously Man United, theirs is 5 million. Yeah, I'd probably look at that as a possibility as well. Now Sarr's stats for last season are pretty impressive. So he played 36 games last season. He got 11 clean sheets, making over 108 saves. He did save 2 penalties as well as earning him a total of 148 points for the season. That's made him the 4th overall points goalkeeper for the season. That's pretty impressive. Now, I don't see Wolves doing as well at all this season. To be fair, I think they're going to be relegated from where it looks, unless they make some serious changes in the summer. So far, from the sounds of it, doesn't look like it's going to happen. So I don't see him getting another 11 clean sheets. But I could be wrong, but I just can't see it. Now I know this makes no sense as to why bring him in then, but I do think Sarr's going to be busy this season, so he's going to be making so many saves, so I can see save points, bonus points. I think all these points he's going to make is going to overhaul clean sheets he doesn't make this season, so he got 148 points last season. I don't think he's going to be far off again, so 148 points for a guy, yeah, he's 5 million, might be a little expensive, but he's only 1.5% owned, so not many people are looking at it. It could actually work out as a great differential. So that's why I figured bringing Sarr there. Now, his sub goalkeeper on here, I've gone for Flecken of Brentford. He's just signed. Obviously, Raya is currently still there right now. But Flecken is there, 4.5 million now. It'll be interesting to see what happens here. Cause if Raya doesn't go, then yeah, definitely don't look at Flecken because you want to go for Raya. Obviously, Raya is a bit more expensive. And Flecken, unfortunately, he's not the best pre-season either. But let's say Raya goes, Ray's gone, Flecken starts. Brentford have a decent start to the season, so if he gets off to a good start, he might be somebody to look at. So 4.5 million starting goalkeeper could be a great option. So that's why maybe look at Flecken. He's not one of my favourite goalkeepers to look at for game week 1 for me, but he might be an option to go for in the future. With the defending option, I've gone for Colwill. Now, I love Colwill. I think he's going to be an absolute great player. Now, whether he plays for Brighton, Chelsea or Liverpool, I think this guy's going to be amazing this season. He's 4.5 million. He's a bargain. He's only 2% owned. He's just had a great summer with England, winning the Under-21 Championships. Now, Chelsea, they don't want to sell him. Obviously, Brighton really want to sign him. So, clearly, Chelsea really rates him. Pochettino, obviously, he's now the manager of Chelsea. Now, he's always known for giving youngsters a chance. And with Fofana out for most of the season again, maybe the whole of the season, I think this is a season for Colwill to shine. So whether that's at Chelsea, Brighton, or even Liverpool, I think he's going to be a great, great player this season. And he's somebody I'm really considering about putting into my team. The midfield option here, I've gone for Havertz. Now, this is a gamble, I'm not going to lie. I don't know if he's going to be in Arsenal starting lineup at all. But what a lot of people have said is he is a great player. Obviously, it didn't work out at Chelsea, but they're saying he was just in the wrong system. So we'll have to wait and see this season. He's definitely somebody to watch. Now, a lot of Arsenal fans have been saying they think he's going to be playing the Xhaka role now Xhaka's gone. And Xhaka did get a fair few goals last season, to be fair to him. So that would be really interesting. Now, Arsenal do have a great start to the season as well. So this is frustrating because I'm not going to put him in my team for game week 1 because I don't want to take the gamble. But because he's 7.5 million. But if he does start and he does actually play that role and he smashes it, he could be an absolute steal at 7.5 million. So He's definitely someone to keep an eye on. I'm personally not going to bring him in game week 1 because I'm not sure if he's going to start. But if he does start, he could be a really good option if he plays well. This is a big, big deal for Havertz. He's got to play well for Arsenal, because if he doesn't play well for Arsenal, I think he's going to be out of the Prem. And then finally, my striking option, my final option, is Wizard of Brentford. Ivan Toney's going to be out for most of the season, so this means Wizard at 6 million, he's 3.9% owned, he's going to be starting for Brentford. Now, his record last season is really impressive. He got 7 goals, 4 assists in just 16 games. That's almost a return a game. That's pretty impressive. And Brentford have a real nice start to the season, so he could absolutely smash it. He's rapid. I think he could have a great start to the season. Whether he's on penalties or not, I doubt it. I think Mbuemo might be on penalties, but who knows? He could take penalties, but I think he's so cheap. He's 3.9% owned, so he's barely owned by anybody. I think he could be a great option as well. So then, on to my starting defenders now. So first up on here, I've got Cancelo of Man City. Now, let's face it, this is a massive gamble, can't deny it. Obviously, he had that fallout last season with Pep Guardiola, where obviously he ended up getting loaned out to Bayern Munich. He didn't perform to the standard they don't, so he ended up going back to Man City, where apparently he has now apologised to Pep and it's all been squashed. But let's face it, we're not going to find out until one, he's either been sold, or at game week 1 starting lineup. If he's not starting game week 1, then it doesn't look good either. Now, in terms of transfers, Arsenal are the only team that I've seen that are interested in buying him. And obviously, he stays in the Prem if that's the case, and I do think that'd be a great sign for Arsenal. But you also have Man City. I don't know what's going on there, because they have a few issues themselves with Kyle Walker. I don't know how this hasn't been resolved yet. Apparently, he might go to Bayern Munich, he might not. I mean, of course, they've got the Croatian fullback who they still haven't signed yet. I don't know how that's not been done yet either. So, fullback role is actually up for grabs right now. And obviously, you do have the great thing with Man City being the first game of the Friday Night Football. We will find out, well, there's a high chance anyway, we'll find out the team news before the deadline. So, me personally, if I find out Cancelo is starting against Burnley, I'm putting him in my team. I think at 6 million, under 6%, if this is the Cancelo of old, I think it'd be an absolute steal, and it'd be like having Kieran Trippier in game week 1 again. That's how highly rated I think Cancelo can be. We'll have to wait and see right up to the deadline that though. But if he's not starting, then I won't touch him. But if he does start, I'll definitely have him in my team. So alongside him, we've got Pinnock of Brentford. In all honesty, this could have been either Pinnock, Ben Mee, who's slightly a bit more expensive, 0.5 more expensive, or Henry. But I've just gone for Pinnock just because he's only 1.8% owned right now. He's one of the nailed-on defenders for Brentford. They do have a nice start to the season. Yes, they've got Spurs' first game, but that is at home. And I do think out of the 7 games that they've got at the start of the season, I think 5 of them are all winnable. Now, Pinnock himself played most of the games last season, so obviously nailed on like I said. He got 10 clean sheets last season, scoring 3 goals, which is pretty decent to be fair, becoming the second joint most points defender that they've got behind obviously Ben Mee. So that's pretty decent, especially the fact that he's only 4.5 million as well. So I think that could be an absolute steal there, especially with the fixtures that Brentford have got. Also alongside him, I've got Dunk of Brighton. Now obviously loads of people are going for Espinian, which I can understand. He's a great fullback. He had a great season last season, and particularly at the end of last season as well. But obviously currently Espinian is right over 50% owned right now, which is absolutely insane. Whereas Dunk is only 3.6% owned right now. That is a massive, massive difference. Considering they're both nailed on, starting wise, they both play for the same team. You think Espinian got over 100 points more than Dunk last season. He didn't. It was literally just 16 points. The point gap between them makes no sense really if you think about it. 16 points overall, and there's a 47% percentage ownership difference. Now, yes, Espinian can get you the odd assist, maybe some bonus points, but Dunk, he's their captain, he's their leader, he's guaranteed to start, and he's deadly on corners. He got 4 goals last season. I think he'd be a worthy player to have in your team, especially if you don't want to go for what everybody else is going for. And then finally, I've got Robertson of Liverpool. Now you could say that last season was by far Robertson's worst season, but you could also say that about most of Liverpool's players, including Trent, who of course is the player a lot of people want. He's over 30% owned right now. And obviously Robertson, he's just under 4%, which is crazy. Again, it's a big difference, especially because Trent, obviously, he went up in price. Robertson went down in price. Now Robbo, he is a bit of a risk these days, unlike Trent. But I don't think, obviously, there's no cup competition at the start. So I don't think he's going to be too much of a risk. I don't see that happening. I do see him getting subbed off early at times. That is probably my slight worry with him. But obviously, it's alright if it's after 60 minutes because you get that clean sheet locked in, and then Liverpool could score obviously after that. Well, not score, obviously concede after that, but we'll have to see about that. That is probably my biggest issue with him. But overall, obviously Liverpool were horrible last season, but this season I do think they're going to be so much better. This summer they're having right now, they're bolstering their midfield to protect that defence, and I really do think they're going to improve so much more. Overall, Robertson, I think he still managed 8 assists last season, so that's only 3 less than Trent. So he's not a million miles behind him considering. And there is obviously now that big price gap of 1.5 million, so you could put that elsewhere now. So he might be worth to go for at the start of the season particularly. I do think obviously when it's Champions League, well, Liverpool aren't in Champions League, but Europa League, I think maybe not have him in then. But at the start of the season when there's no European football, no cup competitions, I think Robertson's definitely something to look at the start of the season. So then with my midfield here, as you can see, all 4 of them, that is a pretty decent midfield on paper, isn't it? Obviously, Solly March first up here, so he's 3.1% owned. That is absolutely crazy. Matoma is nearly 40% owned. Last season, they were both as good as each other. It's absolutely crazy to think that everybody's just going for the one player. Solly March had by far his best season as well, scoring, what was it in the end? He got 6 goals, 10 assists. Brilliant season for him. Obviously, he got injured right at the end of the last season, but I can't understand why he's so low owned right now. So obviously, they're going for a defender, they're going for Matoma, maybe they're going for the striker and Ferguson as their third. The fact that March is so low owned makes me want to get him even more because I think he could absolutely smash it again. And he's only 6.5 million, so he is pretty cheap as well. And Brighton, they've got a nice start to the season. That's something you can't take away as well. Heung-min Son up next. Now, obviously, he had a shocking season last season. 10 goals though still, and 6 assists. That's not exactly the worst return, but for his standards, it was terrible. It's going to be interesting this season for Son because new manager in. Apparently, he likes his wingers out wide, which is not what Son wants really. Has his legs gone? I don't think they have personally. But either way, he's dropped massively in price. They've put him at 9 million this season. He's only 5.3% owned still, which is crazy. Now, Spurs' fixtures are a bit up and down, to be fair, at the start of the season. So, first 2 games, I wouldn't have him. I'd bring him in for game week 3, take him out in game week 6, and then bring him back in game week 8, personally. And obviously, there's a lot of players around his price range that you can do that. But yeah, he can't have that bad of a season. But if Harry Kane goes, he could be the main man as well. So that'll be one to watch as well. So if Kane goes, Son, I'll probably put Son in more if Harry Kane goes, which is crazy to think. Their combination is unbelievable. But that's what I'm thinking there. I think they need a main man, and I think they would turn to Son there. Jack Grealish, I think he's the highest person owned in this team. He's 7.7%, which is actually lower than what I thought it would be. Obviously, he had his best season for Man City in that treble season. 5 goals, 10 assists. I mean, I think he can only do better here. Obviously, Mahrez looks like he's leaving, so there's a higher chance for him to start. He was starting anyway last season. The fact that he's going as well, I feel like we've got a good idea of what the starting lineup for Man City is going to be, attacking wise, which is actually finally decent to know that. But yeah, I do think he's going to get off to a great start again. And obviously, the start of the season for Man City's great. Burnley away first game. Then you got Newcastle, which is a bit tougher to be fair. But Sheffield, Fulham, West Ham, Forest, Wolves. What a start that is. I can see him tearing it up. A lot of people are going for Phil Foden instead of Grealish. I get that. I've been doing that myself. But Jack Grealish, don't ignore him. I think he's going to get off to a great season again. And then finally, Raheem Sterling. I mean, this guy in the last 5 seasons has been unbelievable in FPL. He had a bad season last season, let's face it. Chelsea as a whole did. Now, where he's going to play is going to be interesting. They've got Mudryk in that team. They've got so many different wingers, and Kunu's there now. Will Sterling even start? That is going to be the big thing. We don't know. There's a new manager there, Poch. What's Poch thinking? They've not signed a striker, really, that's going to cement that place. We don't know who's going to play up front. Is it Nkunu? Is it Jackson? Is it going to be Sterling? Sterling, I've got him here just because over the years he's been amazing. He's only 7%. He's only 7 million. That is dirt cheap for Sterling. 3.1% owned. That is crazy as well. He's barely owned by anybody. His stats obviously last season were poor, so we can understand why. 6 goals, 4 assists. It's not a lot really at all. Now, if I'm looking at bringing him in, I'll probably bring him in game week 2, providing he starts. And finally then, onto my strikers. And first up on here, I've got Cody Gakpo, Liverpool. And if I'm going to be honest, I generally think he's going to smash it this season. I think he's going to get about 18 Premier League goals, which is going to be a decent return for a 7.5 million striker. Why do I think that? Wow, he scored, what was it, 7 goals last season. Bearing in mind, he joined in January. It took him a while to get into it as well. I do think he's going to be the main man up front as well. Towards the end of the last season, he was the guy starting every game in the middle up top. Even with Nunes fit, Jota fit, he was that man. So I do think he's going to be that man this season. Liverpool's fixtures aren't exactly the easiest in the world, but Liverpool are really good attacking, and I think they're going to be much, much better than they were last season. So that's why I've got Cody Gakpo here, because I do think he's going to cause some serious issues for a lot of people. And then my second one, right, hear me out on this one, Calvert-Lewin, aka Mr. Glass. Now, he's had a horrible 2 years. He's been injured constantly. Bearing in mind, he might actually go to Roma this season. For some reason, they might be interested in him with their injury issues. Why would you go for another injured man? I don't know. But, forget all that. Let's imagine Calvert-Lewin's fit for game week 1. Now, I know he's not played much pre-season because of his injury. Let's imagine he's fit for game week 1. They've got Fulham, Villa, Wolves, Sheffield United the first 4 games. It gets a bit tough after that, Arsenal and Brentford. Then it's Luton and Bournemouth. First 8 games is pretty decent for Everton. If only he's fit for those games, I definitely think he might be worthy now of a shout out to get into the team. He's literally just 6% owned at the minute. 2.7% of people are going for him. They are seeing the gamble. Whether it'll work, I don't know. Obviously, it depends if he's going to be fit for game week 1. If he's fit, I definitely recommend going for him. If he's not, yeah, avoid him like the plague, because he's just going to be injured all season. So yeah, that's why I went for Calvert-Lewin. It was really tough for strikers because I wanted to go for Richarlison, but he's a midfielder this season, which is frustrating because I was going to go for Richarlison because if Harry Kane leaves, then Richarlison will play more games. But he's a midfielder, but he's definitely somebody to consider as well. But yeah, Calvert-Lewin is a massive gamble. It was just somebody I just happened to think of who possibly, if you get the Calvert-Lewin 3 years ago within that run, then yeah, great option. If you get the Glass one, yeah, don't put him in your team. But yeah, Calvert-Lewin, we'll have to see. Hopefully we get more injury news on him. But yeah, he's definitely, he's probably the biggest gamble on there. But yeah, I do hope you like this video. I hope you like this team. If you didn't, or if you think there's other players in there I should have mentioned, let me know in the comments. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all on the next video.